Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel. I'm RetroNate, and I am thoroughly excited today to bring you a featured title that is maybe one of the most influential from my youth, and I am talking about Tecmo Super Bowl for the NES, a truly iconic football franchise really at this point. This was the sequel to Tecmo Bowl that had come out just a couple of years prior with great reception from the audience, and then Tecmo Super Bowl just took it to another level, one that I haven't seen really matched. I haven't had the enthusiasm that I had for this game matched by any football game I've ever played since, and that includes a lot of the Maddens that came out on future generation systems. Nothing ever captured that imagination and that mystique that Tecmo Super Bowl did, and we're going to go through that today. There's really no way to complete this game, so my goal today is to kind of feature all of the different aspects of it. So I will have chapter descriptions in the video description below, chapter benchmarks that you can skip around to see just what appeals to you. We're going to go through all of the game modes and show you what's available within the game and how you can set it up to really enjoy the game for yourself if you go back and play it. I'll take you through some of the best players in this game. A lot of people who have known about Tecmo Super Bowl know you got to get Bo Jackson. He's the fastest. While that is true, there are a ton of other great players, probably ones that you have an attachment to, that we're going to highlight and go through who the best players in this game are at all of the different positions, so we can shed some love on some of your favorite players from this era. And we'll also go through and play an exhibition so you can just see how the gameplay works, how much fun it can be. And talk through it, hopefully just to honor this title. In light of Super Bowl season, we wanted to honor a title that I felt was really influential to me. So let's switch over to the game. Really appreciate you being here. If you haven't already subscribed to the channel, please feel free to do so. We're making NES walkthrough videos and feature videos like this every week on the channel. Would love to have you along for the ride. So I am going to reset here. This is the intro screen for Tecmo Super Bowl. Kind of gets you started with a really sweet montage. Absolutely love the way that this one breaks down. And I'm just going to sit and enjoy it while this one plays. It's building. There it is. Joe Montana featured here. Niners quarterback. Oh, there's my man. Barry Sanders is featured on the cover. The one and only LT. It's a little bit rough if that's Theismann. His leg sort of. But LT featured here, like the NFL's biggest stars already in the intro screen. NFL Super Pro Football. Gotta love the way that was done here, but cool intro screen. Gets you hyped to play. Good music. Oh yeah, I'm digging this. Still remember that intro music from being a kid, watching through. I still have the desire to watch through that intro to get me into the mode of wanting to do this. So they did a lot of great pre-work in this game to make sure it was going to be an enjoyable experience. And one of the biggest things I'll call out right away, you have every NFL player name other than 3, which I'll get into, that are available on the rosters in this game. You can look at your favorite NFL players and see them appear on the rosters and track their stats throughout the season. Oh, so good, this game. Let's start on the menu screen, and this is where you're going to have your different game options, and I'll just go through them real quickly. So this is based on this is a game that is based on the season from 1990. So the 1990 NFL season and all of the statistics that were amassed in real life by NFL players in 1990, those are reflected in how this game is laid out, because this is looking ahead to the 1991-1992 NFL season and sort of entering in just the way Madden today does the same thing. That's what Tecmo did here. So starting out, a preseason option is what you're going to do for an exhibition. This is going to be where you can just line up and play football against the computer or a friend if you want to go man versus man. But they also give you a coach option where basically you can call the plays for your team and then the CPU actually executes them. So if you wanted to have a coach versus coach battle, you versus a friend where you don't actually run the plays, just call the plays. You could coach against the computer. You could coach against man versus coach, I think is an option, right? You can coach against somebody actually playing. It's kind of gives you a lot of options of any way that you want to engage with that. Season game is by far the deepest mode and the one that I had the most fun with as I was playing this. As I was playing this as a kid. Season mode gives you an incredible depth in this game. And let me just hop over to it after I show you that you also have the ability to do a Pro Bowl. Pro Bowl, same thing. You're going to have the AFC versus the NFC. It has a little bit of a different presentation to it. I think a different halftime show, and you'll only have the All-Stars from the AFC and NFC, but you also have the ability to customize those however you choose under this team data option. So team data is kind of a mode that you can get into and really customize a lot of stuff in here. I'm just going to hop in there real quick and show you all of the different things you can do. So from here, you can choose any one of your NFL teams that you enjoy. From anyone that's watched my videos, you know I'm a Buffalo Bills fan. So if I wanted to go into the Bills roster, you can look through every bit of their all of their player data and look at all of their attributes that they bring in to Tecmo Super Bowl. So Thurman Thomas, one of my all-time favorite running backs, I can drill into his player profile and look at his running speed, his rushing power, his max speed, and all of his attributes. In addition, if you play season mode, it tracks your statistics up here as well. So I'll be able to watch Thurman go for the rushing record or, Jim Kelly or not, QB Bills go for the passing record. Whatever I want to do, I can track that all within this screen here throughout the course of the game. Absolutely forward thinking. I don't know of any other football game that tracks stats like this, and it adds such a depth to the experience. Absolutely love it. But one of the things you can do within the team data screen is customize your Pro Bowlers. So if you choose that you want to have a game of just custom rosters, look, I don't want to play any of the preset teams. I just want to have my QB Bills, and I have to go through. I can pick any AFC All-Stars that I want. If I want Billy Joe Tolliver to be my quarterback, then that's what I'm going to set. And if I want my backup quarterback to be none other than Rick Strom, I'm going to do that. And you can customize your AFC versus NFC team to set the Pro Bowl to be whatever you want. Now, I'm going to reset that because it upsets me to see those two names in there, but nonetheless, you get the point. You can set that on offense or defense, however you choose, as well as customizing your playbooks. Now, this is not reserved for just the Pro Bowl teams. You can do this for any of the teams that you control, but I really want to dig into season mode, which is where I get the most enjoyment out of this game. So if I drill into season game, what I can do is choose any and all of the NFL teams to control over the course of a 17-game season. So if I wanted to pick the Bills as the team that I would control and get to play every game, I would just set it to man. I have every option that I had on the exhibition screen as well. I could choose to coach them instead of actually playing. I could have the computer end up simulating, and I would just stop and watch their games instead of skipping past them. Or I could just set it to skip, and that would simulate past their game when their game comes up in the schedule. So typically what I would do is pick my favorite team, set it to man, and I would go through in a 17-game season and play every game as the Bills, trying to go undefeated on my road to the Super Bowl. So much fun. You can do this with any of the teams, your favorite home team. If you want to be Bo Jackson, you can be the Raiders, but you can also go through if you want to have a vaunted defense like the Bears, or if you want to have Lawrence Taylor to terrorize quarterbacks, or if you want to use the dual threat that is QB Eagles, who may or may not be Randall Cunningham, you can pick any of those teams within here and navigate them through an entire season. So once you've decided what team to control, now you can look at your schedule and see exactly who's playing who on what weeks. And if you choose, you can just simulate through all the way to the end of the season and only stopping at the teams you control. So by choosing the menu, hitting auto skip to week 17, if I wanted to and hit game start, it would just start simulating that season until it got to the team that I controlled. So it makes it very easy to just skip to your game, play it, and keep on moving. Now, as you go through the season, it's going to keep track of all of the NFL standings that you can drill into right here to see where your divisional races are. You can, now I should stop here. The NFL standings, you might be going, wait a minute, where are the Ravens? Where are the Texans? Where are the Panthers? Yeah, they didn't exist yet. This is from 1991. Let's go back just a second and go to team control. Can we just for a moment? What we have East, Central, and West. This is how it used to be broken down back in the old days of 1991, okay? The AFC East had 5 teams in it, which included the Colts of Indianapolis at the time. Now, they have since shifted over to the newly formed AFC South. That includes the Texans, who were an expansion team, the Titans, who were originally the Houston Oilers, and the Jaguars, who were also an expansion team. So that was basically an expansion division, and as a present, we gave you the Colts. You're welcome. Then you had the AFC Central, which wasn't the North at the time, but this became the North when that split. Still has Cincinnati, Pittsburgh, and Cleveland, but you've also taken in the Ravens, so this is weird how it happened. For those of you that don't know, the Cleveland Browns of this game actually became the Ravens in 1996. They moved cities, moved to Baltimore, and took with them the Cleveland history at that time. And Cleveland got screwed out of an NFL team. But then again in 1999, another expansion team formed back in Cleveland, now known as the Browns, and they joined the AFC North, which now includes Ravens, Browns, Bengals, and Steelers. As I said, we had the South that includes now what used to be the Houston Oilers, now the Titans. We have the Jags, the Colts, and the Texans in that division. And then the AFC West is largely intact, except the Chargers were back in San Diego at the time. The Raiders were in LA. Kansas City didn't have Mahomes, so they weren't insufferable every year. And Seattle was in the AFC at the time. Seattle in the AFC West. They shifted down to the NFC as more NFL expansion happened. They switched conferences to keep everything even because more of these AFC teams were showing up, and they switched over to what is now the NFC West, which you can see down here. Now, if you go over to this is tough to track. I got to make sure I've got this right. So the NFC West includes the 49ers, the Rams, the Seahawks, and somehow the Phoenix Cardinals were in the NFC East at the time. So they shifted over to the West just because it geographically made sense, became the Arizona Cardinals down the line, and that is the division that we have today. The NFC Central split into a North and South as well. The North obviously still containing the top 4 teams, Chicago, Detroit, Green Bay, and Minnesota, but Tampa moved to as part of the South, which now includes New Orleans, Atlanta, Tampa, and the Panthers, who were an expansion team in 1996. And then remaining in the East, you still have the big rivals, Washington, New York, Philly, and Dallas. So this was the standings when there were 28 NFL teams in the league. Very different from what you see today, but that is a brief history lesson on why it is laid out this way, in case you were wondering. My wife at this point is probably like, Nate, you're going to put him to sleep. Just get into the game. If you didn't like that, that's fine. We're going to skip on to the next part, which is looking at some of the best. Oh, I'm sorry. No, we were in standings. We got to finish season mode first. After you can look at the standings during your schedule, you can also go to your team rankings and see how you do against offense, defense, yards allowed, as well as total yards allowed. They have that stacked up. You also have individual leaders. They have passing leaderboards, rushing, scoring, punting, and sacks. Whatever you want to see, they track all these stats throughout the year, and it is so much fun to try to set a record in every statistical category over the course of the year. Absolutely awesome. Now, in addition to that, if it's not enough to just pick the team that you have, you also have the ability to customize who is starting and what their playbook looks like. So I'm going to stick on the Bills for a moment. And if I go into their player data, again, this was similar to what we saw on the main screen. You can look at their attributes and such, but OF starters lets you set their offensive starters for the game. So if you say, look, I love Jamie Mueller, he's a box of rocks. He can knock people out around, but he's really not fast. I'd rather have Kenneth Davis in there as my second running back. You have the option to do that. You can sub them out as much as you want. Or if you want speedy Don Beebe in there instead of James Lofton, I don't know why you'd want that, but you can do that as well. So setting your offensive kick returners, your punt returners, and your offensive starters is available through that screen. Now on defense, you can't sub out any starters. There are only 11 players on defense, and there are no injuries to defensive players, but you can take a look at who fills up every spot for your team on this screen. But the coolest part of this is that you can customize your playbook. So here's an example playbook of the Buffalo Bills in this game, and there are 8 plays that you can call in a given game that correspond to the 4 directions on the D-pad plus the A button and the 4 directions on the D-pad plus the B button. That's how you call plays in this game. Well, the 4 top plays are running plays and the 4 bottom plays are pass plays. And you can set one of 8 plays in each slot as you see fit. Maybe you want to run a fullback off tackle to the right with motion before the snap. I mean, wildly advanced for football games of this time. What we run here in Buffalo is the fake dive and then the toss sweep out to Thurman. I mean, he tears up the right sideline that way. We also love to run the off tackle left over here, but if I wanted to run a shotgun draw, or if I wanted to run a motion sweep to the weak side, you've got all of these options that you can customize for every team. In addition, all of your pass plays that are out here. If you want to just go run and shoot and go 4 wide receivers, you've got options for that. If you want to go big and stack your tight end here and play the short and intermediate passing game, lots of options for you to pick from, and you can customize these playbooks depending on what team you are and depending what offensive scheme that you want to run. It's absolutely mind-boggling just how much depth they put into the ability to run your season schedule, how you could customize your starters, customize your playbook, track your stats throughout the year. This was easily the mode that I had the most fun with as I was playing this game. Aside from potentially, and this is the only caveat I'll put in there, playing against a live opponent. If you guys got a friend to come over and play Tecmo Super Bowl, it would be hours of competition just battling each other in exhibition modes, Pro Bowls, whatever you wanted to do. Maybe you even try to do a season game or each run individual seasons and clash during the year, maybe in the Super Bowl of the season. But here's the problem. Anytime you played Tecmo Super Bowl with a friend, it was just a race to see who could get to Bo Jackson. Okay, who was going to be the Raiders? That was always who it was going to be because everyone knew that he was the best. And there's no denying that. Bo Jackson is the best ball carrier in this game. But there are a ton of other good players that sit in this game that I want to go ahead and take some time to highlight before we actually get into a game and show you how it works. Okay, and we're going to do that through the team data screen, and I'm going to take you through every position. I did my homework here, folks. I got to pull up my monitor here. I did my homework to make sure that I am looking at the best attributes on these guys from every different position, and I'm going to take you through on just some of the players that I think you should take note of when you're playing this game who might be able to neutralize Bo Jackson or maybe provide a counter offensive with some other good players on other teams. Okay, let me sip my coffee. Perfect. So first of all, let's get these out of the way. These are kind of a nice little tip of the cap and a nod to the special teamers. Kansas City has the best kicker in the entire game in Nick Lowry. He has an 81 kicking ability and an 81 avoid kick block. Those are the two things that matter for a kicker, and he's pretty darn good at it. In fact, he's perfect. He's got the highest rating in both of those attributes in the entire game. The other kicker that gives him the slightest run for his money is the Jets' Pat Leahy. So Jets fans, feel free to weigh in the comments if you think that that was well deserved. I don't know if I ever really knew about Leahy being very good, but then again, it was a kicker. I probably didn't pay attention that much at that time. When it comes to punting the ball away, there was none better than Sean Landeta of the Giants, who also possesses an 81 for kicking ability and avoid kick block, the two most important attributes for a punter. And an honorable mention goes to Mike Horan of the Denver Broncos, an 81 kicking ability and 75. Look at the receding hairline on this fella. God bless him. Avoiding kick block, just slightly worse than Landeta. Okay, we've gotten rid of special teams. I wanted to quickly, get them out of the way. Here's how the attributes work in this game. And I want to go over this quickly for everybody so that we understand how these things impact play and why these players are so good. Real quick, if you're watching this and you're a Colts fan, or you're a Cardinals fan, or you're a Seahawks fan, or maybe you're a Saints fan, you might go, you didn't mention any of my team. Well, it's because they stink. I'm very sorry about that. But I'll use them as a model to show them what the attributes are like. So let's go through that. If I were to look at the wonderful mustache that is Jeff George, he's going to give us a look at the attributes for a quarterback that are important. Now, running speed is the top attribute that you see here for him. And for quarterbacks, that's generally all the same, but I'm not so much concerned about what the ratings are as much as I want to tell you what they mean. So going from the top to the bottom, Running speed correlates to a player's starting running speed. And as you get moving, you will accelerate to their maximum speed. So that's how the mechanic works. So running speed is the rating for how they start, and then maximum speed is the rating for how they finish. And as you can see in Jeff George's case, he actually starts running and then he gets pretty winded and ends up going slower at the end of his run than he does at the beginning. Rushing power is his acceleration rate. That is how quickly he will reach his max speed. And then obviously after that, maximum speed is the top end speed that player will reach. Hitting power on offense refers to their ability to shed tackles. And there's a mechanic that if there's a differential of about 50 points between an offensive player and a defensive player's hitting power, you will do what's called popcorn them. If anyone's seen the YouTube video of Christian Okoye running against the Colts, he popcorns everybody because his hit power is so high. But the key attributes for quarterbacks that we want to look at are passing speed, pass control, and avoid pass block. Now you might say accuracy of passing. What about that one? Turns out as a coding mistake, accuracy of passing has no impact on a player's performance. That attribute is all wrapped into pass control. So we're going to be looking at those attributes for the quarterbacks when we are evaluating them. Now, as for ball carriers, let's go ahead and give Phoenix some love here because we're not going to talk about many of their players being very good. Let's go to Johnny Johnson here. He is their running back, and they've got similar abilities to the quarterback that we just talked about. Running speed, rushing power, maximum speed, and hitting power all mean the same thing, but ball control is a new attribute they have, and that refers to their probability of fumbling, and that will increase the lower the rating on that is. And receptions, which applies to both running backs and receivers and tight ends, is their ability to catch the ball when open. So pretty self-explanatory for what those mean. Every offensive player, I think we've covered their attributes, but real quick, I want to go in and cover some of the defensive attributes. And for that, let's go ahead and highlight the one and only Cortez Kennedy, who was a very young middle linebacker for the Seahawks during this time. And we'll talk about their ability as well. So on defense, many of the same abilities and attributes are present: running speed, rushing power, maximum speed, and hitting power. But interceptions is the new rating that defenders have that speak to specifically their ability to intercept or break up a pass. And quickness, much like accuracy of passing for quarterbacks, has zero effect on performance at all. Another coding gap, not sure why it's there. I assume they intended it for something, but it means nothing. So interceptions is the only other thing that matters for defenders. All right, we've covered all of the attributes. You know what they mean. Now let's talk about the best players. We've already gone through and covered special teams because we wanted to give them a quick nod. Let's start with defense, because if your friend was someone who decided they wanted to pick Bo Jackson, they said, sorry, there's nothing you can do about it. I'm going to be the Raiders and you got to deal with it. Well, there are some ways that you can deal with it, and we're going to talk about a variety of players. First, on the defensive line that might help you neutralize Bo Jackson. And starting at the top, there is none other than my favorite, Bruce Smith. He is among the best defenders in the entire game, with one of the highest maximum speeds for a defensive end, as well as insane hit power, a quickness rating that doesn't mean anything, but he can get himself up to maximum speed very, very quickly and proves to be a handful for offensive lines to deal with, especially if you're dealing with Bo Jackson running the ball. So Bruce Smith is one option. Now, if you want to go in the NFC, there is alongside Bruce Smith in every conversation that is had is also about the Minister of Defense. I'm talking about Reggie White of the Philadelphia Eagles. Very similar in terms of rating, actually a better interceptor of the ball. Not that that's a huge deal for a D lineman, but very good maximum speed, high hit power. He is a force to be reckoned with, as he was in the NFL during his days of playing. Now, third, and this would not be applicable if someone is Bo Jackson because he's on the Raiders himself, and that is Howie Long. That's right, the guy who sits behind the desk doing NFL analysis and back in the day, Radio Shack commercials, used to be a hell of a defensive end, and he would wreak havoc on opposing offenses for the Raiders, who had a marvelous season in '90, which might be why a lot of their players are rated very, very well. Now, At this point, once those three players are kind of off the board, there are a couple of other guys that you can choose depending on how you want to go about defending. There are some D linemen that are very good with high hit power, and that's going to be Minnesota Vikings Chris Dolman. Right over here, who is, again, a very high hit power, pretty good maximum speed, and just a good all-around defender. Anyone who's in Skull Nation knows that Chris Dolman was a household name. Fantastic defensive end for them for years, and he is among the best in the league at this point. Now, if you happen to be the San Francisco 49ers, you might think, oh, it's got to be our man Bill Romanowski or Charles Haley. Well, Haley actually plays linebacker, but this gentleman, Pierce Holt, seems to be rated pretty darn well in this game. Now, his name's Pierce. I'm not going to hold him against him for that, but really high hit power and a pretty good max speed. He'll be a formidable defender for you if you need to use him. And then the final one, if you want to go with a hit power focus, is going to be of the Bears front. I'm talking about Richard Dent for the Bears. Hall of Famer and a very good player in this one. 63 hit powers, a little bit below the other guys we've mentioned, but a good max speed and able to hold his own against pretty much everyone. Now, if you decide you want to go with more of a speed rush as opposed to a power rush, there are different guys that you can go with. One of them on the New England Patriots, I'm talking about Ray Agnew. So he's a little bit more of a speed guy. The rushing power is higher. He's going to get up to max speed a little bit quicker. So maybe if you want to run some line stunts or whatever, he's a pretty good guy to use in that case. However, picking the Patriots overall, not the best idea. I don't know, just me. And then lastly, and I did say this in error before, I am going to talk about one Seahawk, and that is Jacob Green, who's also a very high max speed rusher, decent enough hit power to bring some folks down. He probably won't popcorn anyone, but he can get up to max speed very quickly and cover a lot of ground from the defensive end position. All right, and then there is one hidden gem, one absolutely diamond in the rough player that you need to know about, and it's because of a coding mistake. I'm talking about the Packers DT, Bob Nelson. So I mentioned to you before that rushing power is a player's ability to get up to maximum speed, right? That's their ability to get to their max speed. Now, defensive play, you might look at his max speed and go, it's 38, it's nothing. But here's the deal. Anyone that's played this game knows that when you're an offensive player and you're running for a touchdown, every defender catches up to you. They're all faster than you. That's because offensive and defensive players are on a different scale. So a defensive player's max speed, no matter what it is always faster than an offensive player's max speed. That's just how the game is worked. Well, the fact that Bob Nelson can get up to his max speed the fastest makes him insanely tough to deal with. So if you're looking for a hidden gem and someone that maybe you've never heard of to use, this is your guy. Bob Nelson of the Packers. All right, let's swing over and do a couple of linebackers here in case you want to take a look at playing from that level, if that's where you prefer to go when you're playing defense. And it's going to start with none other than Lawrence Taylor of the Giants, the best defensive player in the game, and for good reason. He's got the greatest attributes, pretty much mirrors Bruce Smith with a better interception rating. And he's incredible. And we all know the legacy of Lawrence Taylor. The other one that you can always grab is Derek Thomas, who rest in peace. Derek Thomas, an incredible player for the Chiefs. Rookie record for sacks, I believe, for them or something to that effect. The legacy of Derek Thomas is well known, and he's another fantastic linebacker to use in this game from the left outside or right outside position, excuse me. But then if you prefer to play middle linebacker, if you go back to the Bears, we're looking at Mike Singletary, who makes his appearance here with really high hit power, a good max speed. He can get all over the field and wreak havoc on opposing defenses from that Mike linebacker spot. Maybe it's named after him. Who knows? But one you may not have heard of, or maybe if you're a Jets fan, you might be going, hey, mention our guy. I sure will. I'm going to talk about Dennis Byrd here. So he was very highly rated here, well-rounded player, probably the next tier down from the Singletary, Thomas, and LT tier of players in this game. And he is a really nice player to use if you choose to use the Jets as your home team. Now, there are a couple more guys that we can feature here. They're all kind of in a tier by themselves. If you prefer to have a linebacker that's a little better at Interceptions, you're going to be looking at Greg Lloyd from the Pittsburgh Steelers. Really well-rounded, good balanced stats, but can intercept passes a little bit better than the next guys I'm going to name, but generally about as good as the next in this tier. The first I'll mention on Philadelphia is Jerome Brown from the inside linebacker position. A little bit more hit power and not as much intercepting passes, but he's going to be your a very versatile run stuffer for you if you choose to use the Eagles. We also can't mention Greg Lloyd without also mentioning his future Steeler teammate Kevin Green, who in this game resides on the Rams. A lot of running power and hitting power. He's dangerous to deal with from that left outside position if you want to blitz with him, and he can give other teams fits dealing with them. And then Minnesota also maintains a great player at the middle level. It is Keith Millard, who in fact in this game, because every team runs a 3-4, if I remember correctly, Keith Millard, just like Cortez Kennedy, might actually be defensive tackles, but they didn't include 4-3 defense in this, so every defensive tackle, if they ran a 4-3, ends up playing inside linebacker. So that's where he resides, but a very good player for the Vikings as well. And those are more of your hit power guys, Jerome Brown, Kevin Green, and Keith Millard. Now, we're going to get to the secondary now. And I am going to tell you about the best corner in this game, the best cover man in this game. We're talking Revis Island. We're talking like shutdown guy, Antoine Winfield Jr. We're talking about the guy that can take away the opposing player's best receiver. Doesn't matter who they line up, he's going to take them away. And obviously I'm talking about Rod Woodson. Nope, I'm not talking about him. Obviously I'm talking about Deion Sanders. Nope, I'm not talking about him either. This guy dwarfs both of them. And you've never heard of him. I'm talking about Wayne Haddix. Yeah, you can play that back if you want. Wayne Haddix is the player I'm mentioning, and he's incredible. He has super high max speed, crazy hit power, interception rating through the roof, running speed, rushing power. He's got everything. Why haven't we heard of this guy? Well, as I did some digging, you find out that he only played 4 seasons in the league. And over those 4 seasons, he amassed 7 interceptions and 3 touchdowns. Can you guess when he got all of them? In 1990, right before this game's ratings came out. He is the best ranked corner in the game for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, a completely hidden gem, and he's just buried here on basically a lowly team that doesn't have much talent other than him. But kind of a fun guy to use if you end up being backed into using the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. He's really fun to control if you like to be a secondary user. Now, I mentioned the other 2 great corners before this. It's Rod Woodson of the Steelers. Comparable stats to Haddix, a little bit lower on interceptions, but a great player, very fast, great hit power to bring people down, as well as one and only Prime, who sits on the Falcons, which was the team that drafted him, and he sits here with a max speed of 75, good interception rating, can shut down the opposing team's top receiver just like he could when he was playing. Now, beyond that, if you go up to our Houston Oilers, who are now relocated to Tennessee, they had 2 corners, and the more notable was Chris Dishman. But for some reason, he wasn't the better one. It was Richard Johnson that sits here with insane statistics and attributes, able to pick off passes with the best of them and shut down the opposing team's best receiver. And then the name that everyone remembers because he played for 20 years and might have been the fastest at his position every year of those 20 years was the great Darrell Green, who sits on the Washington Redskins. Opposite Martin Mayhew, who is a honorable mention for corner as well, but Darrell Green brings the speed and the shutdown ability at corner in case you want to shut down the passing attack from your opponent. Now, if it's not corner that you're considering and you're just saying, I want to just lurk at safety, well, I've got news for you. There are 2 of the greatest sitting on the San Francisco 49ers. I'm talking about Ronnie Lott, Mr. Cut Off My Pinky so I can play in the Super Bowl, sitting here with very good hit power and maximum speed, the fastest of the safeties in the game, as well as his counterpart, Dave Waymer, who's very good at picking off passes and lurking from the strong safety position. Sticking with strong safety and back to Minnesota, who has an all-star at every level of their defense, I'm talking about Joey Browner, part of the Hall of Fame all-1980s team, I remember. But people in Minnesota will remember Browner very fondly, a great player for them for years. Near the twilight of his career in this installment, but still a very formidable player. And then lastly, I'm going to give you the 2 best safeties in this game, working also from the now NFC Central, is Mark Carrier. Now, he was a young gun during this season. This was only his second season in the league, but he led the league in interceptions the year prior. So they gave him the best interceptions rating in the game, and he can lurk in the backfield or in the defensive backfield, picking off passes from the, gotta say, lowly quarterbacks of the NFC Central during this time. You're facing Rodney Peete, Don Majkowski, Wade Wilson, and Vinny Testaverde. He gets himself a few picks if you play a season with him. But the one guy who sits in Cincinnati outdoes all of them. I'm talking about David Fulcher. Now, if I remember correctly, he might have been the one that actually ended Bo Jackson's career. So I can't forgive him for that, because I would have loved to see what Bo Jackson would have been if he were healthy, but he's incredible. Incredible statistics and attributes up and down the line. Interceptions, hitting power, he's got everything. So really a fun guy to play as if you need to defend your friend who decided they needed to be Bo Jackson or Jerry Rice or something like that. Okay, let's switch over to the offensive side of the ball here. We'll get through our skill position players, and then we are going to move into an exhibition before we call it a day. So now moving over to the skill position players on offense. And let's just start right at the top with the best quarterbacks that you can be in this game. And we are going to kick it off in Miami with Mr. Isotoner. I'm talking about Dan Marino. That's right. Laces out Dan Marino is what I'm referring to. Excuse me. The best passing speed in the game. This guy has a cannon. It was well documented. I still go back and watch highlights of this guy. He's incredible what he could do with a football. Very good pass control and able to avoid blocks. He's not as mobile, but man, he can sling it with the best of them. And he's throwing to Mark Duper and Mark Clayton, which are a nice formidable group of receivers, unless you want to hit their tight ends, Farrell Edmonds and Jim Jensen as well. But if you're not a pocket passer and you're someone who wants to mix up the dual threat, there is no better option than who may or may not be Randall Cunningham. I'm talking about QB Eagles, who has the highest maximum speed for a quarterback in this game. Scrambling as a quarterback is deadly. When he's the dual threat that you can dump it off to either Keith Jackson or Fred Barnett, but also take off running down the sideline, very difficult to defend, and he is the best of both worlds. Also with very good passing attributes, he's going to be a handful for someone to deal with if you use him. Third on my list is another may or may not be Jim Kelly. It is QB Bills. Tied for the best pass control in the game, meaning accuracy and avoiding interceptions. He can make sure that he gets the pass off with one of the highest avoid pass blocks in the game. He's not super mobile. He's got a decent enough arm. He's not slinging it down there as a cannon, but he gets it where it needs to be and has a great slate of receivers in Andre Reed and James Lofton to throw it to. But now we're up to the upper echelon, and second for me is Joe Montana. Montana also tied with QB Bills for pass control at 81. A little bit less on avoid pass block. Same pass speed, but I enjoy Montana mainly because of the supporting cast he gets to throw to, including none other than Jerry Rice. And then number one, you might say, gosh, Kelly and Montana not in there? I'm talking about Warren Moon and the run and shoot offense. Fantastic attributes for Moon. Great arm, great accuracy. He can run a little bit faster than the other quarterbacks that I mentioned before. So in case you want to take off on a sneak or break pocket, he's a great one to use, and 4 incredible weapons to throw to. So that is your quarterback slate. Now let's get over to the running backs. Yeah, we know. Bo Jackson, insane. Ball control 81, maximum speed 75. The guy is unstoppable. We all know it's Bo Jackson. But who is it if it's not Bo Jackson? Well, you saw him in the game intro. It is, my personal favorite running back of all time, Barry Sanders. One notch below Bo Jackson in terms of his speed, but he can catch the ball a little bit more, which in the Lions run and shoot offense is pretty valuable to be able to use. Now, third in this list, the gadget player from Buffalo. I'm talking about Thurman Thomas, the Hall of Famer. Great receptions, great speed, all-around player, and worked in on a lot of passing routes in their playbook as well. So he is going to be kind of a Swiss Army knife to gash you up all different ways. Would recommend using him a lot. Now, if you're not so much into speed and you're saying, look, I want to play a power run game, then look no further than the Nigerian Nightmare, Christian Okoye. 94 hit power, among the best in the game, and really when he is in a better physical condition than average, which can vary quarter to quarter, these attributes rise as he goes to good and excellent, and he can just start popcorning people everywhere, shrugging defenders without even getting into a wrestle or a grapple at all. Really, really fun to use. And on that same front, if you're into power backs, look no further than Otis Anderson, who was the Super Bowl MVP in the season prior to this. 88 hit power with some pretty good speed, and the Giants have a great roster. He's a lot of fun to use too. Now, if you do prefer the speed, there are two in the AFC West you can consider. The first is going to be for Denver, and that's Bobby Humphrey with a 63 max speed, gets out of the gates very quickly. Doesn't have the best playbook. You might want to customize that for Denver, but he is a really nice and fun player to use at the running back position, along with San Diego's Marion Butts. That's right. Hold on to him, as Samuel L. Jackson said. You got to hold on to him because he will gash you if you don't. 63 max speed, among the best in the game, tied with Thurman Thomas, Bobby Humphrey, and some others as far as their ability. So those are the ball carriers I would recommend using. Honorable mention to Neil Anderson of the Chicago Bears. Pretty good top speed receptions, very well-rounded back. In general, their offense isn't that great, but I really like using Neil Anderson if I'm forced to do so. Now, as far as receivers go, look, we want to sling this ball down the field and get it to our playmakers. Well, there are a few of them in this game. I could actually go for a while as far as guys that I will mention. Here's ones I won't highlight necessarily, but Washington's Gary Clark, very good receiver in this game. Sterling Sharp for the Packers, still early in that career, and he hadn't quite broken out without Favre there, but he's very good. Stephon Page for the Chiefs is also a very good player, as well as Haywood Jeffries for the Houston run and shoot offense. All of these guys are great, but I'm going to highlight 7 of them here that kind of give you an idea of different ways that you can attack. And look, it starts and ends with Jerry Rice. He is the best receiver in the game, coupled with one of the best quarterbacks in the game. This was the West Coast offense of the 90s, and it was nasty. 81 receptions, 81 ball control, 69 max speed, second fastest in the game, tied with Barry Sanders. He is among the elites, the best receiver in the game. Second, though, down in Houston, is Drew Hill. From the gang, I assume, but he also is an elite receiver, a little bit slower and one notch worse on receptions than Jerry, but still with Moon throwing him the ball, a dangerous, dangerous threat to put up lots of points. Then we move down to Atlanta and go over to Mr. Bad Moon. I'm talking about Andre Rison, a nasty player, great speed, great reception rating for him. He's catching the ball from Chris Miller, which gets a little tough, but still an elite player. And if you can find him, he is going to be dangerous for your opponent to deal with. Now, beyond that, if you happen to go up to the Rams and choose to sling it with Mr. Chris Everett, I bet I won't say that again. I bet I will. Chris. I'm going to go with Henry Ellert, who is perhaps Hall of Famer. Am I out of my depth there? Maybe he is. But yeah, 81 receptions, tied for the best rating in the game. A little bit less ball control, but good speed. Very dangerous receiver on the Rams. And then going back to Houston, alongside, look at this. Jeffries is already an honorable mention. Drew Hill is one I've highlighted. And then we're going to talk about Ernest Givens, who's also among the best receivers in this game and sits on Houston. Houston is such a fun team to use in this game because of that run and shoot offense with Moon. 4 great receivers to throw to. You can really gash your opponent with them. For anyone that picks the Raiders because you want Bo Jackson, counter him with Houston and see what happens. But great rushing power and speed, fantastic reception rating. Ernest Givens can be another one that you can attack with. And then we're going back to Minnesota. Gosh, they got a lot of good players on this team. And Anthony Carter. Now look at this. Chris Carter buried on the depth chart here. Wasn't really a household name yet until more later into the mid-90s before he kind of emerged. So his stats not really great. But Anthony Carter, his predecessor, a very good player on the Vikings and a fun receiver to play as and throw to. Good max speed, very good reception ability. Covers for Wade Wilson's ills from the quarterback position pretty well. And he is actually identical to another Ram receiver, Willie Flipper Anderson. They have the same attributes, and Willie Anderson, also a very formidable receiver, playing at the bottom receiver spot in the formation. Last but not least, I'd be remiss if I didn't mention my man, Hall of Famer Andre Reed, catching the ball from QB Bills, and great speed, great reception ability, pretty good running speed too, like a good starting speed for him as well. All great receivers to use in this game if you want to counter the attack of your opponent. Now, the last thing we'll highlight before we get into a game are the tight ends, the unsung heroes of the offense, Mr. Do-It-All, and the best one in the game, in my opinion, resides on the Eagles. I'm talking about Keith Jackson. Best max speed in the game for a tight end, good rushing power, good reception rating. He is a great weapon to use if you're going to be the Eagles, using both QB Eagles and then Keith Jackson as a second outlet. That is a dangerous combination for your opponent to have to deal with. Now, also in the NFC East, before the triplets really took off, the Aikman, Emmett, and Michael Irvin trio that is here at this point, they also had the staple of Jay Novacek, who had broken out before, and he is a fantastic receiving tight end, best receptions rating among tight ends in the game. Very solid if you want to go ahead and be the Cowboys as that dynasty was forming. And then back to a dynasty that was already in full swing. We're talking about Brent Jones from the San Francisco 49ers, a staple of the offense, real nice security blanket for Montana. And when you forget about him because you're trying to cover Rice and John Taylor, Brent Jones just slips in there and gashes you over the middle. Now, I've covered one New England Patriot before in Ray Agnew, but let's go back and take a look at Marv Cook. I had never heard of this guy before. Handsome son of a gun up there in the top left, but he has decent ratings all over the board here. Very balanced player, pretty good speed for a tight end position, good catching ability. He's catching the ball from the worst quarterback in the game in Grogan. That doesn't help. But if you do happen to be the Patriots, maybe you're playing a game of the worst teams in the league, he's maybe a focus of your offense that you want to go through. And then lastly, again, on the Minnesota Vikings, I'm talking about Steve Jordan. This is the father of Cameron Jordan for the Saints, I believe, but a very formidable tight end in his own right, playing over the middle for the Vikings. An offense that also includes Herschel Walker. This was after the great, what was this? The great trade robbery, right? Herschel goes over to the Vikings for all of their, or no, it was someone else that traded all their picks for him. Well, Herschel's a Viking at this point, and Anthony Carter is the over-the-top threat that you can use to stretch the defense. So, I'm sorry, I said Anthony Carter and Steve Jordan to help keep those linebackers honest and keep them paying attention to the underneath coverage. Steve Jordan, a very good player in this game as well to use. So hopefully that gives you a little bit of a highlight of all the great players in this game that you can use. I've done so much talking for this episode. For those of you that stuck around through it, God bless you. Thank you, because I've been going for about 45 minutes on just how much this game influenced me and some of these great players that we got to see. But I think now it is time to see if we can go ahead and maybe we'll do a challenge here and see if we can't break some sort of a record in playing just a simple preseason game against the computer. And maybe we'll show off just how good Bo Jackson can be. I mean, maybe we should be Jerry Rice. I don't know. Maybe what we'll do is try to give us a Super Bowl prediction. Maybe that's what we do. Maybe I want to see the Super Bowl prediction that I have here. As I upload this video well in advance of the Super Bowl, what if I think it's going to be Buffalo and Detroit? Let's go ahead and take in a game here and show you how this mechanic works. And I can kind of talk you through the mechanics of the game as we watch a game simulated here, and then we'll call it a day. So as you get into a game in Tecmo Super Bowl, there's a coin toss to determine who's going to get the ball first. And off we go. Scott Norwood's going to kick it off. Mel Gray returning for the Detroit Lions. And there you go. So when you come into contact with a defender, there's like a grappling system, and you basically button mash when that happens to try to break the tackle. Or you can dive at an opponent's legs for an instant tackle, as Barry Sanders gashes us off the right side to start. So those are the two mechanics on defense. As well as you're playing before the snap, you can tap the A or B button to switch the player that you control. So depending on what your focus is, if you want to control a safety or a linebacker, you can do so before the play. All right, what do you say, Bruce? Give us a play. Barry on a pitch to the outside. Oh, good defense by the Bills. 3rd and 7. This is big. Come on, I'd love to see this be the start of the Super Bowl. Stop him. Stop him. Barry is so good. Oh, he got a little tangled up there. All right, what are they going to settle for a field goal? Love it. Love it. Eddie Murray for the kick. Looks good. All right, 3-0. 3-0. Good defensive hold. We got it, Bills. Let's trot out that all-pro offense here. We got Thurman. We got QB Bills. We got Andre Reed, James Lofton, Keith McKellar. Nasty business. All right, let's go. Let's hit him with Thurman right here. What do you say? Off tackle? Play action. They bit. It's open. Go to Reed. Wide open. 30, 25, 20, 10. Do you believe? Just like that. Very good defense by the Lions. Staying home. Really not biting on the play action. QB Bills to Reed is nasty. That's one. I want to see 3 today. Norwood for the extra point. And the Bills reclaim the advantage here in the first quarter. Awesome. The mechanics of picking plays, too, as you're picking plays, if you happen to pick your opponent... So, on offense, you can pick one of your 4 run or pass plays. If the defense picks the play that you select, they blow up the play entirely. So at that play selection screen, if you happen to pick the same play, the defense is just going to absolutely brutalize the offense and blitz them entirely. Look at Rodney Peete scrambling from the pocket and picking up a first down. Mr. Holly Robinson Pete. All right, come on. Oh, there it is. There's the blow-up play. So computer must have selected the same play from either. Very fun. 2nd and 14. Stopped him for a 4-yard loss. They blitzed him again. They blow up the draw play, and now the Lions are in deep trouble. 3rd and 19. Come on, don't be the typical Bills 3rd down defense and give up a first down. Don't do this to me. Good angle. Good angle by the corner down there. Who was that? Kelso, maybe? Mark Kelso? Oh, jeez. Dan Arnold, the husband on Roseanne, punting away to Al Edwards. Oh, these names are great. All right, chance to go up 2 scores. 48 seconds left in the first quarter here, ladies and gentlemen. Bills out to a 7-3 lead, and this time they're going to hand it off to Thurman off the left side. He's got himself a gap. Out to the 30, gets himself a block. 2-man miss, and now he's out in front in midfield. Running away now. Defense catching him from behind. Not quite. Down to the 20. Can't catch him to the 10. To the 3. Touchdown! 2 plays. 2 touchdowns for the Buffalo Bills, and Thurman Thomas takes it to the house from 70 yards away. 80 yards away. Boy, I would love to see if this was the Super Bowl. Could you imagine? 14-3 to start. Not the best kickoff. Another cool thing about this, the era of the 2-point conversion didn't exist. It was extra point only. They didn't have any 2-point conversion options for you. So the calculating of 1 and 2 score games was very different. All right, Barry gets himself a first down. Now, the other cool mechanic in the game, every quarter, the physical condition of your players changes. It can either get better or worse. So there are 4 physical conditions. There's bad, there's average, there's good, and there is excellent. Leon Seals, the Dr. Sack, I think they call him. He had like 12 career sacks still. But there are 4 physical conditions. Those physical conditions affect your player's attribute ratings. So an average, what I showed you were all the player ratings in average. But if they improve and become good or excellent, they raise even more. So there's some randomness, too, to the abilities of the players that you select, which makes it just different every time you play through a season experience like this. Oh, man, Bills are dominating this one. Forcing punts from midfield? I mean, how feckless a coach can you be? You got to know this one's over if you don't score. Hate to see it. Come on, Bills. Step on the throat here. Oh, they're going bomb. No defense from the Lions. Oh, nobody. Everyone was open. 4 streaks. Featherstone's wide open. That's nothing new. All right, they do have defense this time. Got to make a play. No pass rush, though. Good line. Going to Lofton. Deep. Wide open. They let him get behind him to the 30. Defense is struggling. Watch out, Benny Blades. Oh, they blew it up. Got it off. Leaping catch. Blitz beater. This team is unreal. Unreal, the Bills of the early 90s. How did they lose 4 Super Bowls, man? I don't get it. Screen pass to Thurman. He's going to run it. 3 for 3. Love to see it. Love to see it. Oh, baby. Is this one over? Is this one over before it starts? Oh, yeah. 21-3. There's no way they get back in this, do they? No, not this one. I would love it if it were a stress-free Super Bowl like this. Just Bills just go up early on the Lions. Don't give them any hope. I mean, don't get me wrong. I want to see the Lions win a Super Bowl, but I want to see the Bills win one more. All right, got to see if they can get it to Barry to get back into this thing. They're going to pitch it out to the right. Good idea. Bruce Smith just causing havoc on that right defensive end position, too. Up top there, the number 1. Watch how he blows up, like, every play. No, not really. Not that one. It's a quarterback keeper out to the right. Got to do something here, Lions. Need a big play. How about a throw? All right, they're throwing. Oh, Bruce got done up, and then Pete took off. Down to the 30. Minute left. Good moves by Rodney Pete over here. Young legs. Calling a timeout. 50 seconds left. All right, Lions trying to score before halftime. From the 22-yard line. Under pressure. Throws it. Gets it away. Incomplete. No grounding. He was sent into the stands. Rodney now looking. Breaking the pocket. He's got happy feet now, folks. But he takes off. Somehow overran him. Touchdown. How did that Bills defender overrun him? All right, Lions get back into it with a late score in the second half. 21-10. Did they get the opening kick? I think they did. They did get the opening kick. So Bills are going to get it at halftime. Murray with the extra point up and good. It's an 11-point game with the Bills to get the ball at halftime and the kick here for that matter. I don't know if they're going to get in position. One thing about this game, too, the clock runs at an absurdly fast rate. There were 25 seconds on the clock when that play started, and now there is 1. So that was a 23-second kickoff. All right, Bills, 1 play for glory. And he throws it to the fullback over the middle. Mueller with a nice catch and run, but that's it for the half. 21-10, and now a little halftime show. Parachuters coming down in the middle of the game. The wave. Not bad. Obviously, cheerleaders do that in the middle of games. And then they're tossing another lady in the air. It's a great show. It's compelling and rich. All right, can the Bills put this one away and bring my Super Bowl hopes to fruition, as this will be the official prediction? Oh, man. Get after the run game here. Nope. Play action. Guys are covered. Reed deep. Oh, out in front of him over the sprawling arms of the defender. Down to the 25 and wrestled down to the 22. Huge play. As you can see, all those defenders eventually catch up to the offensive player. That's that maximum speed scale being different for defenders than it is offensive players. Lofton in the back of the end zone, well covered, incomplete. 2nd and 10 now. Bills trying to step on the throat here. Looking. Everybody literally wide open. Just throw it to someone. I got McKellar! Touchdown, Bills again. Oh, this is turning into a bloodbath, ladies and gentlemen. 4 touchdowns on 4 possessions by the Bills, and this is getting out of hand. I love it. 28-10. Is this it? I'm getting a 28-10 Super Bowl? I'll take it. I would take it. They only relented 40 points to the Lions last time they faced them. All right, Pete, what do you got? Going to Barry outside on the right. Good play here. He got an opening. Barry is nasty business. Cleared out into the open space. Down to the 20, the 15, the 10. One man to beat to the 5 in great form. Tackling down to the 3. Big run by Sanders. Got to get this in here. Keep it a game. Good pitch out to the right. That's a touchdown. Barry into the end zone. Putting his team on his back. Love to see it. What a game. 28-17. Still a chance. Lions got to get a stop. Bring it back to a 1-score game. 2 minutes, 26 seconds left in the third quarter. Murray up and good with the extra point. 28-17 in favor of the Bills. Murray with a good kickoff, too. There are also no touchbacks in this game. If you get tackled in the end zone, no matter what, on a kickoff or whatever else, it is a safety. There are no touchbacks in the game at all except for punts that go through the end zone or into the end zone. And those are automatic touchbacks. Handoff, Thurman left side. Good move. 8-yard gain. The other thing that happens in this too, fumbles basically like void the play that you're running. So if anyone fumbles at any point, they could have run for 30 yards and then fumble. They don't get credit for the 30 yards on the stats. That's one of the kind of weird things about the game here. All right, 28-17. They're going to go to Mute. Nope. Fake up the middle. Out to Thurman again. Great tackle off the end there. 2nd and 10 now. QB Bills in shotgun, flanked by Thurman. Direct snap to Thurman Thomas. He's got room up the middle. Gets good blocking up the middle, and there's a gap. 30, 25, one man to beat, and a good tackle. Form tackle by the defender to allow his teammates to catch up and bring him down in the red zone. But a big play. Shotgun again for QB Bills. I'm just going to say Kelly. Why am I saying QB Bills? Gets it away to Thurman. Incomplete. Covered in the end zone. 18 seconds left in the third quarter. Bills threatening to score again. If the defense can hold. How? They blitzed it, and Thurman still gained yards out of that. 3rd and 5 now. Does the Lions defense have what it takes to stop this team? Thurman left side. First down. Big first down for the Bills as they grind away the clock. 5 minutes to go until this one is over. Another off-tackle call. And, oh my goodness gracious, ankles being left on the field. Thurman with his second of the day. And the Bills score their 5th touchdown in as many possessions. 34-17 with the extra point yet to come. This might be all she wrote, ladies and gentlemen. Oh, it's so sweet. Come on, baby. Mel Gray on the return. Across the 20 to the 25, the 30. Good blocking out to the 33-yard line. Lions need to get something going right here and right now. Coming out with 4 wide receivers. Pete drops back looking to pass. Has options. And dumps it off short for no reason at all. Everyone open deep. I love it. Draw play? Gutsy call there by the Lions. Wow, Barry looks like he is faster than he was. Might have improved his physical condition over the quarter here. Maybe they lean on him. They got a first down at the 41 now. Looking to throw. Everybody open. Just get rid of it. That's where pass control comes into effect. He threw that one into the 6th row of the bleachers. Going to Aubrey Matthews over the middle. Great reception there. A 4-yard catch. Trips left. Can they score? Just make the right decision. Oh, a diving catch by Matthews to convert for a first down. Bills defense doing the thing the Bills defense does, letting people get down the field on 3rd and long. Does he got him? Johnson? End zone touchdown! Lions with some fight. Richard Johnson. Not the cornerback that we highlighted earlier, but the receiver for the Lions. And Rodney Peete throws a late touchdown trying to keep these cardiac Lions in it. Well, here we go. Now, the Lions do have the ability to kick an onside kick. When the meter is in that blue section, that kicks an onside kick, and you can try to recover it. Oh, and they almost did. Just bounced around enough, but the Bills recover. So, Lions need to make a defensive play here, and fast. And the Bills go very conservative, dive up the middle to Mueller for 8. Lions had no idea it was coming, apparently. They call their timeout, not that it saves that much time. 2:19 left to go. Could this be the one? Could this be the year that the Bills finally get the monkey off their back? A screen pass into double coverage was not what I had dialed up on 3rd and 2, trying to salt a game away. Play action. They are going for the throat, and they get it to Lofton for a first down. The conversion does everything. Sorry, Lions fans. It's not your year. It's not going to be. It's going to be Bills 35-24, unless they score again here. Thurman blown up in the backfield. Detroit finally aware of the game situation. How wild would it be if it was 35-24 Bills? Direct snap Thurman. Yep. Oh, good run. A little bit off to the right. Or a little bit off. Could have cut left there. 35-24. Mueller up the middle again. Yep, going conservative here. Just trying to run clock. Are they going for a field goal here? Trying to ice it? Make it 2 touchdowns in a minute 18? Can Norwood kick it anywhere near the goalpost? Oh, I think he nailed it. Right down the middle, baby. 38-24. Oh, and the deepest of kickoffs. What a special team. What an indicative thing by the Bills special teams to do the worst thing possible on special teams after a score that almost seals the game. And an aggressive run call with a minute left in the game, down 2 scores, but they go to Barry, who is their best player, and he breaks one. And he got it. Unbelievable. 38-31. Barry trying to bring his team back in at his 3rd touchdown of the game. Onside kick and a prayer. Who knows? Onside kick and a prayer. Come on, Murray. AI knows to onside kick it too. Get it. I just want to see a good game. Oh, he got it. Thurman on the hands team. Oh, it would have been amazing. 2 seconds. It's going to be over. Just don't give him a chance. Of course they're going to throw it. Why wouldn't they? He adds it on. He adds it on for good measure. 2 seconds left in the game, you're winning, and he hits Reed for another touchdown. Guys, I'm sorry. I'm not the one that makes the rules. The Super Bowl prediction that I have this year in 2025 is 45-31 Bills over the Lions. That's how it's going to be. I'm sorry. I wish I could control it. Look at how awesome that was. 289. And then you get your statistical breakdown afterwards. Your leading rushers, Thurman with 157 and Barry with 184 on the ground. Rodney Peete, a woeful day. QB Bills with 289 throwing, including 4 for 176 to Reed. Pretty nice average there. Guys, the game is so cool, and it is so much fun. I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope you enjoyed the feature that we did, trying to show you all of what's available in Tecmo Super Bowl for you to enjoy. Go back, play the game, and enjoy it as much as I do. If you haven't already, please do subscribe to the channel. We are growing every day, and we are trying to put out these NES walkthroughs and features once a week until we get through every NES game in the North American library. Appreciate you guys being with me. Go Bills, 45-31. That is the Super Bowl prediction that I have, and we will catch you next time. Peace.